The world of AI, it feels like it's spinning at, well, light speed, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Breakthroughs seemingly every day.
And every company you talk to, they're under this immense pressure to adopt the latest game-changing solution.
Mm-hmm. The pressure is real.
But, beneath that really dazzling surface, there's just this flood of marketing terms, buzzwords that sound, I don't know, profound, but often feel a bit hollow.
They do. They definitely can.
So how do you, as a decision maker, actually navigate all of that? How do you separate, like, the real innovation from just pure hype?
Yeah. How do you make smart investments?
Exactly, without getting totally tangled in these, inflated promises.
Well, that's precisely where we want to focus today. Our mission isn't to tell you to shy away from AI. Not at all.
No, quite the opposite, really.
We're here to arm you with a strategic toolkit, something designed to cut through all that marketing noise.
Okay.
We want to empower you to ask the truly penetrating questions, the kind that transform AI procurement from, the vendor's dazzling vision.
Right, the sales pitch.
To your business's clear-eyed evaluation. Think of it as sort of weaponizing skepticism.
Weaponizing skepticism. I like that.
Yeah, not as some kind of barrier to innovation, but actually as your most crucial strategic advantage.
Okay, so how are we going to do that today? What's the plan?
Right, so to guide you through this, we'll first explore why the current AI market feels so much like a gold rush. It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll look at how various AI technologies currently map onto the really powerful Gartner hype cycle.
Ah, the hype cycle. Yeah, that's critical.
It is. From there, we'll sort of peel back the layers of common vendor buzzwords and the bigger stories, the narratives they build around them.
Revealing what's often underneath all that gloss.
Exactly. Then we'll move into the very real, often quite hidden risks of misinformed AI adoption. We'll look at concrete examples of how things can go sideways.
Wait, the cautionary tales.
Yes. And finally, we'll equip you with a practical playbook, a detailed framework, specific, hard-hitting questions.
The toolkit you mentioned. Precisely. To ensure your AI investments deliver tangible, measurable value, not just, costly disappointment.
This is all about making genuinely wise AI adoption achievable for you.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Wise adoption.
Okay, let's dive in then. Part 1.
Yeah.
Navigating this AI gold rush. Let's start by just painting a picture of the current landscape, because it really is a bit of a wild west out there.
It really is.
If you've glanced at your newsfeed lately, or maybe just scrolled through LinkedIn or something,
Oh, yeah.
you've seen it. Just this sheer explosion of activity. It absolutely feels like a gold rush.
Unprecedented investment, relentless media attention.
And vendors just popping up everywhere, all promising the moon, basically.
Mm-hmm. And there's this immense pressure on organizations, right? From the board, from investors, the market.
Yeah, adopt AI, adopt it fast. It's almost like this AI-induced FOMO, isn't it?
Totally. Fear of missing out, that feeling that if you don't jump in right now, you'll be left completely behind.
Right.
It is, and this urgency, while you can totally understand it, it unfortunately collides head-on with a fundamental truth, which is that many of these heavily marketed AI solutions are still, well, technologically immature. They're in their infancy.
So you've got this, like, perfect storm situation.
Exactly. Organizations feel this huge pull to adopt AI quickly, but the actual solutions that are being offered are often still evolving. They're nascent.
Which creates a really high-risk environment for anyone making those buying decisions.
Incredibly high risk. Procurement, investment decisions. The stakes aren't just high, they can feel existential when you're trying to integrate something so immature potentially into core operations.
Okay, so to help us make sense of this tension, you mentioned the Gartner hype cycle. Let's bring that in.
Yes, it's a really powerful framework, super useful for understanding how new technologies typically move from that initial breakthrough to hopefully widespread adoption.
And it breaks down into phases, right?
5 distinct phases. And knowing where a specific AI technology sits on this curve is, well, it's absolutely crucial for your strategy.
Okay, walk us through them quickly.
Sure. First, you have the technology trigger. That's the initial spark, the innovation.
The big bang.
Kind of. Then it shoots up quickly to the peak of inflated expectations. This is where everyone's buzzing, promises are sky high, maybe unrealistic.
The hype phase.
Exactly. After that, almost inevitably, comes the crash into the Trough of Disillusionment. Early experiments often fall flat, maybe initial interest fades.
Reality bites?
Pretty much. But it's not always the end. If the tech has real merit, it then starts climbing the slope of enlightenment. It's true. Practical applications become clearer, more understood.
Okay, finding its feet.
Right. And finally, it reaches the plateau of productivity. That's where it's widely adopted, it's mature, and it consistently delivers real, measurable value.
Got it. Trigger, peak, trough, slope, plateau.
Okay.
So where does AI stand today on this cycle? I imagine different parts are in different places.
That's exactly right. And understanding this is incredibly telling and deeply relevant to your investment strategy. Take generative AI or GenAI.
The one everyone's talking about.
The very same. After that initial, almost meteoric rise, all the breathless excitement, recent analyses suggest it's now squarely entering the trough of disillusionment.
Really? Why is that?
Well, because those ambitious initial experiments, those first attempts at implementation, they're often failing to deliver on the really lofty promises made back at the peak.
Wow.
Companies are finding out it's much harder, way more complex, and less immediately transformative than, the marketing suggested.
Okay, so Gen AI is heading into the trough.
Yeah.
What about other AI concepts?
Well, things like AI agents, this idea of autonomous AI doing tasks and the critical need for AI-ready data, they seem to be sitting right now at the peak of inflated expectations.
So maximum hype for those right now.
Maximum hype. This is that phase marked by just unrestrained enthusiasm, a flood of unproven vendor claims, and this almost like boundless belief in what the technology will eventually do.
Rather than what it can actually do today.
Precisely. And what's particularly insightful here is seeing the direct cause and effect.
Between the peak and the trough.
Exactly. Those visionary, often totally unsubstantiated promises made by vendors for technologies at that peak, they aren't harmless hot air.
No.
No, they are the direct cause, the sort of inevitable setup for the expensive project failures and the deep cynicism we see later in the trough of disillusionment.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Hype leads to disappointment.
It really is. Excessive hype inevitably leads to disappointment and, crucially, wasted resources.
And the financial cost of this hype, it must be significant. Do we have any numbers on that?
We do, and they're quite staggering when you look at them. Some reports indicate that a shocking 62% of AI sales initiatives actually fail.
62%? Wow.
Yeah, primarily due to unrealistic expectations and just inadequate preparation. Imagine that almost 2/3 of these projects just don't deliver what was promised.
That's huge.
And there's more. About a quarter of IT leaders openly confess they regret their AI investments, pointing specifically to a lack of proper planning as the main culprit.
So it's not just abstract numbers. This is real budgets, real strategic initiatives.
Real careers being impacted, frankly. All because that hype cycle wasn't properly understood or navigated.
Which is why it's so critical for you, the listener, to tailor your procurement strategy to where a technology actually is on this cycle.
Absolutely critical. If a technology is at the peak, your main risk is overinvestment. Pouring too much money in, driven purely by that contagious hype, before it's really ready for prime time.
Okay, and if it's in the trough?
Well, then you face a different set of risks. You might prematurely abandon a technology that actually holds significant long-term value just because its early versions underperformed.
No.
Or you might just repeat the exact same mistakes that caused those early adopters to fail, essentially not learning from their disillusionment.
So grasping this cycle gives you a massive strategic advantage.
Huge. It helps you make much more informed, defensible choices.
Okay, so our mission today with this deep dive is essentially to be your guide for wise AI adoption.
That's it. Explicitly designed to help you avoid that brutal crash into the trough of disillusionment that, frankly, so many organizations are experiencing right now or are maybe about to.
We want to arm you with the tools to navigate this terrain successfully.
And to really hammer home our core message. Skepticism in this environment, it isn't a barrier to real innovation.
It's an asset.
It's your most critical strategic asset. We're fundamentally trying to shift the procurement process here.
How so?
It's no longer about letting vendors lead with these grand visions and, abstract hype. Instead, it becomes a business-led evaluation.
Focus on solving real problems.
Rigorously focused on solving specific, measurable, real-world problems, your objective is crystal clear. Right. Make sound, defensible investments that deliver actual, tangible value.
Not just feed into that cycle of hype and eventual disappointment.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've mapped out this treacherous landscape, the AI gold rush.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you actually find your way through it when it feels like everyone's speaking a different language? AI marketing language.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it often feels deliberately ambiguous.
It often is. Crafted to create this aura of profound capability, making the tech sound incredibly sophisticated, almost magical.
It's conveniently sidestepping anything concrete or measurable.
Or, crucially, contractually enforceable commitments. It's not just fluffy language, it's a form of what you might call capability washing.
Like greenwashing or ethics washing.
Precisely. Designed to make something appear more advanced or more capable or more ethical than it truly is.
It's not just imprecise communication then, is it?
No, it's often a strategic use of language, specifically designed to sell an expansive, transformative vision while, in reality, often delivering a much narrower and frequently more fragile tool.
So to help navigate this linguistic minefield, you said we're going to break down the lexicon.
Yes, we need to identify the categories of words that should immediately, raise your antenna during any vendor conversation.
Okay, let's start. Category 1.
Let's start with vague verbs of transformation. These are the action words that promise some dramatic, positive outcome.
But without specifying how or by how much or compared to what.
Exactly. No mechanism, no metric, no baseline. They're designed purely to evoke an emotional response, sell a vision of effortless progress.
Example.
Oh, you know them. Revolutionize, empower, elevate, transform, streamline, unleash, harness, supercharge, reinvent.
They sound good.
They do. But the really insidious part, they're fundamentally unfalsifiable. How do you prove a revolution hasn't happened if it was never properly defined in the first place?
Right. It's clutter marketing, I suppose.
Brilliant. From a marketing standpoint, their main function is to divert your attention from the necessary and often really difficult questions.
Like
Process reengineering, the actual complexities of systems integration, the need for quantifiable improvement.
So when a vendor says they'll revolutionize your workflow?
That's a statement of ambition, maybe hope. It's not a concrete product feature. And it sets dangerously unrealistic expectations.
Because the reality is usually more incremental.
Exactly. Truly successful AI implementation is less about one big revolutionary bang and much more about incremental, measurable gains. A promise to streamline something, say, accounts payable.
Yeah.
It's effectively meaningless without a commitment to a specific, guaranteed percentage reduction in processing time or cost, measured against a clearly defined baseline. You need numbers, not just these flashy verbs.
Okay, numbers, not verbs. Got it. What's the second category?
Our second category is adjectives of unproven supremacy. These are those subjective superlatives vendors love to use.
To claim they're the best.
Right, to assert market leadership, imply unique capability, and subtly discourage you from doing rigorous comparative analysis.
Like what?
Think about words like cutting edge, game-changing, best-in-class, innovative, state-of-the-art, bleeding edge, pivotal. They sound incredibly impressive, don't they?
They absolutely do. Makes you feel like you need that specific one.
And that's precisely their intent. But remember, these are marketing claims. They are not verifiable technical specifications.
So if something is truly game-changing,
it needs solid, independent evidence to back it up. We're talking case studies with clear, demonstrable, disruptive shifts in specific business metrics.
Okay.
Maybe a 30% jump in customer sat scores, or a 15% drop in operational costs, ideally verified by a third party. Without that kind of concrete proof, these adjectives are just empty assertions.
Designed to create that urgency, that FOMO we talked about.
Exactly. Pressuring organizations into making hasty decisions based purely on the perception that they might be falling behind competitors.
You mentioned bleeding edge. That one always sounds a bit risky to me.
It is. It's particularly revealing, isn't it? It inadvertently hints at the very high risk and inherent instability often associated with tech that's truly unproven, still under heavy development. It's more of a risk indicator than a badge of honor, honestly.
Okay, so we have vague verbs and unproven adjectives. What happens when vendors weave these into bigger concepts?
Now we get to nouns of ambiguous power. These are terms used to package and describe AI solutions in ways that imply something really comprehensive, integrated, incredibly powerful.
But the reality might be simpler.
Often much simpler. Beneath the surface, the underlying tech might be a relatively simple algorithm, maybe just a standalone tool, or a disconnected set of functions.
What kind of nouns are we talking about?
Think. Ecosystem, synergy, platform, agentic AI, enterprise AI, AI agents.
Okay, those sound quite grand. Ecosystem especially.
Right. It suggests this mature, seamlessly interconnected suite of products all working together beautifully. When in reality, It might just describe a single tool with a few basic API connections.
That's quite a gap.
It is. But let's really focus for a moment on agentic AI and AI agents. These are especially dangerous terms right now.
Why dangerous?
Because they're currently positioned squarely at that peak of inflated expectations on the hype cycle.
Maximum hype, maximum risk.
Potentially, yes. These phrases carry a really strong implication of autonomy, reasoning, independent decision-making, capabilities that modern AI simply does not possess in the way the narrative suggests.
And the danger is believing the narrative.
The danger is that this narrative can lead organizations to mistakenly grant these systems unsupervised access to truly critical business functions.
Like procurement or finance.
Exactly. Procurement, financial transfers, things you really don't want going wrong autonomously. Remember the Stanford University AI Index report? It explicitly documents how even state-of-the-art models can fail unpredictably.
So giving an agent the keys to the kingdom.
Without monumental governance frameworks in place is, frankly, a security and operational nightmare just waiting to happen. It's not a theoretical risk. It's very real.
Okay, this is slightly terrifying. So how do you translate these slick marketing terms into something concrete and actionable for your organization? We definitely need that translator you mentioned.
Absolutely. And that's where our red flag glossary, the buzzword to question translator, comes in. This isn't just a list, it's a tool. It fundamentally shifts the burden of proof. It puts the onus on the vendor to actually substantiate their claims.
Rather than on you to discover the limitations after you've already signed the contract and spent the money.
Precisely. Let's walk through a few critical examples of how to turn that buzzword into a penetrating specific question.
Let's do it. First up.
Let's take seamless integration. Sounds great, right?
Of course. Who doesn't want seamless?
But what it often hides is difficult, costly, highly custom API work, maybe a lack of support for your legacy systems, definitely prolonged implementation timelines.
So instead of just accepting seamless, you ask.
What specific systems in our existing tech stack like Salesforce, SAP, Oracle, whatever you use, do you have pre-built documented connectors or APIs for? Can you provide a referenceable client of our scale and complexity and detail their specific integration timeline and their total cost?
Forces them to get specific. Concrete details.
Nice.
Next
up, agentic AI. We've talked about its dangers. This buzzword often hides maybe just a simple rules-based automation script. No true autonomy, no memory, no complex reasoning.
So the strategic question needs to cut through that.
Exactly, it needs to be. Define the agent's precise scope of autonomy. What specific guardrails, human oversight mechanisms, and approval workflows are actually in place to prevent catastrophic errors like that autonomous procurement failure scenario highlighted by Stanford's AI Index report?
Again, demanding detail on the safety nets, not just the promise of independence. Very good. What about ethics?
Yes. Ethical and unbiased, a huge one. This often hides a complete lack of formal bias testing or auditing, maybe unaudited or demographically skewed training data, or it's just ethics washing as a marketing tactic.
So the counter question is,
what specific bias detection framework, for instance, LIME or S-Shape, which are tools that help explain how a model reached a decision, did you actually use to test the model against protected attributes like race or gender? Can you provide the results of your latest third-party bias audit and document the demographic composition of your training data?
Pushes them beyond a vague claim to a verifiable technical process. Excellent. One more.
Let's do future-proof. Very appealing, this one.
Understandably. Who wouldn't want that?
But it often hides a static system that will actually become obsolete quite quickly. It can mean vendor lock-in, an inability to incorporate newer, better models as they emerge.
So the question has to challenge that static nature.
Precisely. You must ask. Given the rapid pace of AI development, how does your platform actually allow for the integration of new foundation models as they inevitably emerge? What is your policy and pricing model for upgrading the underlying AI engine? Are we, in essence, locked into your current model and all its limitations?
Gets right to the heart of the system's longevity and flexibility. You know, by asking these kinds of questions, you're not just being difficult.
Not at all. You're being strategically diligent. You're doing your job.
Okay, so we've decoded individual buzzwords, translated them into hard questions. But these words aren't just standalone, are they? They're threads in much larger stories vendors tell.
Exactly. Beyond individual terms, companies craft entire narratives. Stories designed to simplify complex tech, make it incredibly appealing, align it with broad strategic goals.
But, and this is the crucial part, these narratives often hide significant technical limitations, and serious contractual risks.
That's the danger. So let's pull back the curtain on some of the most powerful and, frankly, most dangerous of these overarching narratives.
Where should we start?
Let's start with one, the proprietary self-learning algorithm, unpacking the black box.
Okay, proprietary and self-learning. Those sound impressive.
They're chosen very carefully. The marketing narrative here is a cornerstone of many vendor pitches. It conveys two powerful ideas. Uniqueness, proprietary, implies a secret sauce competitors can't copy in automation, suggesting a system that improves itself over time without needing manual effort from you.
Positioning it as a competitive advantage and maintenance-free.
Exactly. A seemingly maintenance-free asset for your organization.
But what's the technical reality behind self-learning?
Well, the reality is that self-learning is largely a marketing simplification. It's not a precise technical descriptor. It typically refers to specific machine learning paradigms that allow models to learn from unlabeled data.
Wow.
Techniques like self-supervised learning, where a model learns by, say, predicting a masked word in a sentence, or reinforcement learning, where it learns through trial and error, getting rewards or penalties.
So these are powerful techniques.
Oh, absolutely. They allow models to find patterns in vast amounts of data. But, and this is the critical takeaway for you, despite this sophistication, they are fundamentally just sophisticated pattern matching engines.
Not truly intelligent agents understanding things.
Correct. They don't grant general cognitive abilities or common sense understanding. They operate within a defined scope and still require careful human oversight and rigorous testing.
Okay, so self-learning is a simplification. What about proprietary? You called it a red flag.
It is a major legal red flag during procurement. While vendors present it as an asset, legally, it establishes their technology as a black box. It shields the inner workings from your scrutiny and creates a cascade of risks for you, the customer.
What kind of risks are we talking about?
Well, first, there's data usage and IP contamination. This is a big one.
How so?
The most significant danger is that the vendor might use your organization's sensitive, proprietary data customer lists, strategic plans, R&D info to actually train and improve their core model.
Wait, so you're paying them to use your data to make their product better?
Which they then sell to your competitors. Precisely. Standard confidentiality clauses often aren't enough to prevent this. They might argue they're using the learnings, not the data itself.
That sounds tricky.
It is. And a recent study found that 92% of AI vendors claim broad data usage rights, far beyond what's needed just to deliver the service to you.
92%. Wow. Okay, what else?
Then there's the lack of explainability and accountability. If a proprietary model makes a biased or wrong decision, denies a loan unfairly, generates a flawed design that you, the customer, might have no way to find out why.
Leaving you liable without understanding the cause.
Exactly. Creates significant liability and compliance gaps, especially in regulated industries where knowing why is critical.
Any other risks from the proprietary black box?
Yes, IP infringement liability. Their algorithm might have been trained on data that includes copyrighted material or patented designs used without permission.
And their contract might not fully protect you.
Often not. Vendor indemnities are frequently narrow, full of exceptions. This can leave you, the user of the output, exposed to legal claims even if you had no idea about the training data issues.
So they create the problem, but you might face a lawsuit.
It's a definite risk. And finally, related to that, is liability and risk shifting. AI vendor contracts very often include aggressive liability caps.
Limiting their financial exposure if things go wrong.
Exactly. Limiting it to maybe just a fraction of the contract value. This effectively shifts the financial and legal burden of any AI failures, which could be millions, onto you, the customer. Their proprietary shield often means they control the risk definition, not you.
Okay, proprietary is definitely a red flag. Now, some claims seem to push beyond just automation, hinting at something almost human-like in its intelligence. That feels like a powerful seduction.
It is a powerful seduction, and that takes us right into the territory of two, the cognitive solution, selling human-like intelligence.
Cognitive. That sounds very advanced.
That's the idea. The marketing narrative, famously popularized by IBM with Watson, positions these solutions as being more advanced than mere AI. The story suggests a system that doesn't just automate tasks, but actively simulates human thought processes. It claims it truly understands context, learns from interactions, acts as an intelligent partner augmenting human decisions.
Designed to command a premium price.
Absolutely. Differentiate the product, imply a deeper level of intelligence.
But what's the technical reality behind cognitive computing? Is it a distinct field?
Mostly no. The technical reality is that cognitive computing is largely a marketing construct, not a distinct technical discipline with its own unique set of underlying technologies.
So it uses the same AI tools.
It uses the same foundational elements: machine learning, NLP, neural networks, deep learning. It describes a goal-mimicking human cognition, which is a valid design philosophy.
But the term itself can exaggerate the capability.
Dangerously exaggerate. It can overstate a system's ability to truly understand, reason, or think in a human sense. They remain sophisticated pattern-matching engines operating on data. They don't possess consciousness or genuine comprehension.
So the strategic implication for you, the listener, when you hear cognitive.
It should immediately trigger a very specific line of inquiry. You need to focus on substantiating those claims of contextual understanding. Move beyond the marketing language, demand proof.
What a good question to ask.
A powerful question to test this is. Describe a specific scenario where your system produced two different recommendations from the exact same data query based solely on a change in user context. How does the system technically ingest, model, and apply that contextual information to actually alter its output?
Makes them show their work on context.
Exactly. Their ability, or more likely inability, to provide a clear technical answer will quickly reveal whether cognitive is a genuine design feature or just inflated marketing speak.
Okay, moving on. It's so tempting to think we can make a single AI investment and just be future-proof, right? Be done with it. Is that achievable, or is it a dangerous illusion?
It's definitely an illusion, unfortunately, and that brings us to 3. The future-proof platform. An impossible promise.
Another appealing narrative.
Very appealing. The marketing narrative suggests that this one-time investment in their AI platform will somehow shield your organization from the relentless pace of technological change.
Offering stability, long-term value.
Positioning the product as a definitive solution that simply won't become obsolete. It taps into that deep desire for stability.
But the technical reality.
The technical reality in AI, which is defined by exponential progress and unpredictable breakthroughs, is that the concept of a future-proof solution is an absolute fallacy.
Things just move too fast.
Way too fast. An LLM, or a computer vision algorithm that's state-of-the-art today, can be significantly outperformed, frankly, rendered obsolete in maybe 18 to 24 months.
So claiming future-proof is a misrepresentation.
A fundamental misrepresentation, and it encourages a really dangerous set-it-and-forget-it mindset in a field that absolutely demands constant learning, adaptation, and iteration.
So the real goal for you shouldn't be future-proof, but
adaptable. Your strategic objective must be to invest in an adaptable system. Your due diligence has to shift from just evaluating the current model's performance to rigorously assessing the platform's architectural flexibility and the vendor's genuine commitment to ongoing evolution.
What are the key indicators of that adaptability?
Okay, first, model agnosticism. Can the underlying AI model be easily swapped out for a newer, more powerful one, maybe their next version, maybe a future open source one, without requiring a complete re-engineering of your whole workflow?
Makes sense. What else?
Data pipeline flexibility. How easily can you integrate new and diverse data sources to retrain or fine-tune models as your business needs inevitably change over time?
Good point. Vendors' plans matter too.
Absolutely. Scrutinize the vendor roadmap and R&D investment. Is there a clear, credible, and adequately funded roadmap for incorporating new research and techniques into their platform, or are they just selling what they have now?
And
finally, and this is crucial, focus on organizational learning. The most resilient strategy involves building internal skills and fostering a culture of continuous learning within your own organization, rather than placing all your faith in one vendor's promise of a magic box that never ages.
Okay, adaptability over future-proofing. Makes sense. And then there's the ultimate sci-fi seduction, isn't there? The idea of true human-level AI. Feels like something straight out of a movie sometimes.
Indeed. And this brings us to 4. The promise of AGI-level intelligence. The sci-fi seduction.
AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Right. Now, very few vendors will explicitly claim their current product is AGI, but many will subtly invoke the concept. They'll use it to describe their product's long-term vision, its trajectory, its ultimate potential. AGI, remember, is that hypothetical AI with human-level cognitive abilities across a wide range of tasks.
Learning and reasoning like us.
Supposedly, this narrative taps directly into that futuristic, powerful imagery of science fiction to make a current, much more limited product seem far more advanced and capable than it actually is.
But what's the technical reality of AGI?
Let's be unequivocally clear. AGI does not exist. It remains a theoretical research goal. There's no consensus it's even achievable, let alone imminent.
That's all current AI is.
All current AI is artificial narrow intelligence, or ANI, designed and trained for specific, well-defined tasks, image classification, translation, playing chess.
And conflating ANI with AGI is the problem.
It's a profound and genuinely dangerous misrepresentation. It creates deeply unrealistic expectations about what today's tools can actually do.
How does this work in a sales pitch? You mentioned a halo effect.
Yes, it's a sophisticated tactic leveraging the halo effect. The psychology works like this. First, AGI represents the ultimate powerful AI capturing everyone's imagination, limitless potential, right?
Okay.
Second, vendors know their current AI products have significant limitations, bias, hallucinations, lack of common sense. We all know this now. Third, by strategically associating their limited AI product with the grand concept of AGI, they effectively borrow its perceived power and potential and apply it by association to their actual narrow product.
It's misdirection.
Strategic misdirection. It encourages you, the buyer, to evaluate the product not on its demonstrable present-day capabilities and flaws, but on some speculative, idealized future state.
It's like selling a go-kart by showing a blueprint for a spaceship.
That's a perfect analogy. And the immediate danger. Massive overestimation of the tool's current reliability, its safety, and its actual suitability for high-stakes, autonomous tasks right now.
Okay, so those abstract promises, those ambitious narratives, they aren't just harmless marketing fluff, are they?
Not at all. They are direct causes, direct antecedents to business failures, financial liabilities, and potentially massive reputational crises.
When your expectations are set by the hype, not reality.
The collision with the technology's actual limitations can be absolutely catastrophic.
Let's underscore this with some concrete examples then. Connect those vague promises to tangible peril. It feels crucial to understand these real-world consequences.
Absolutely. Let's start with one. Operational and performance risk. The chasm between hype and reality.
This sounds like the most immediate danger.
It often is, stemming from that huge gap between the fully automated, transformative experiences promised in the marketing
and the often fragile, context-dependent performance of current AI systems, leading to failed projects, wasted money, operational disruption.
Precisely. A perfect, if rather infamous, example. The Willy Wonka experience fiasco in Glasgow 2024.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. Total disaster.
Complete disaster. The event was marketed using these incredibly vibrant, fantastical, entirely AI-generated images, promising an immersive, magical chocolate wonderland.
But the reality.
Customers arrived to find a sparsely decorated, dimly lit warehouse, a few cheap props, some forlorn actors. It went viral for all the wrong reasons.
Public ridicule, refunds.
Exactly, and it stands as this perfect physical manifestation of the gaping chasm between AI-generated hype and operational reality. A powerful metaphor for any tech procurement where the AI-crafted promise bears zero resemblance to the delivered product or experience.
Like those online shopping fails where what arrives looks nothing like the picture.
Exactly like that, but on a business scale, potentially. Another telling example, McDonald's AI drive-through misadventures.
Oh, yes, the bacon on the ice cream store.
Those ones. In an effort to streamline and improve efficiency, they tested AI voice recognition in drive-thrus. The promise, faster, more accurate orders.
The reality.
A system that frequently misunderstood requests, leading to bizarre, often hilarious, incorrect orders, bacon on ice cream, hundreds of nuggets.
Which went viral on social media.
Of course. And it highlighted the inherent brittleness of AI in complex, uncontrolled environments, different accents, background noise. The risk, often hidden by claims of robust systems, was severe degradation of customer experience and operational chaos for staff trying to fix the AI's mistakes.
Still picturing someone getting a Big Mac surprise with a side of deep-fried confusion. Okay, so operational risks are clear. Moving to financial risks. 2, financial and contractual risk. The high cost of ambiguity.
Yes. Vague promises and ambiguous contract terms around AI performance, data rights, liability, austerity. These aren't just theoretical problems. They translate directly into significant financial and legal risk for your organization.
Any examples here?
Consider the case of the FTC versus Air AI in August 2025. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission sued Air AI, alleging deceptive claims and selling business coaching and AI services.
What kind of claims?
Marketed its conversational AI with unsubstantiated promises that customers could earn tens of thousands, even millions of dollars. Plus, they offered deceptive refund guarantees they didn't honor.
So hype crossing into illegal deception.
Exactly, causing direct financial harm. This case moves AI hype firmly into the realm of regulatory enforcement and consumer protection law, real financial penalties.
Okay, what else?
Then there's the landmark case of Air Canada's Line chatbot.
Oh, I heard about this one too. The bereavement fare.
That's the one. Customer asked the chatbot if he could apply for a bereavement fare retroactively. Chatbot incorrectly said yes within 90 days.
So he bought a full-price ticket based on that.
He did. Air Canada refused the discount, blaming the bot. Customer took them to court. The civil tribunal ruled against Air Canada, stated the company was responsible for all information on its website, static page, or AI chatbot. No excuses.
Wow. Sets a clear precedent.
A huge precedent. Organizations cannot absolve responsibility by blaming AI error. It demonstrates direct financial and legal liability for deploying AI systems that give wrong information.
But it's not just money and operations, is it? There's an even deeper cost,
Yeah.
potentially harder to recover from your brand's reputation.
Absolutely, which leads to 3. Reputational and ethical risk. When smart technology looks foolish, deploying AI without a deep understanding of its limits, bias, accuracy, context can lead to very public failures that inflict severe, lasting damage.
Prime example.
Google's Bard Gemini launch stumble. During its big public debut, the AI, then Bard, confidently but wrongly stated the James Webb Space Telescope took the very first pictures of a planet outside our solar system.
Which wasn't true.
Factually wrong, spotted immediately by astronomers and the public, led to widespread criticism, a reported $100 billion drop in Alphabet's market value.
Ouch.
A textbook example of AI hallucination, plausible but false info, showed even tech giants aren't immune. Huge reputational cost, eroded public trust.
Any other examples of reputational hits?
Oh, yes. Coca-Cola's #MakeItHappy campaign hijacking back in 2015.
That sounds ominous.
It was. Well-intentioned campaign.
Yeah.
Automated bot turned negative tweets with #MakeItHappy into cheerful ASCII art.
Okay.
Backfired spectacularly when Gawker created a bot to tweet lines from Hitler's Mein Kampf with the hashtag.
Oh, no.
Coca-Cola's bot, tragically lacking context or ethical guardrails, dutifully converted hateful text into playful images, dogs, palm trees, and tweeted them from the official Coca-Cola account.
Public relations disaster.
Absolute disaster. Forced campaign shutdown. Illustrated the catastrophic danger of deploying automated systems in open adversarial environments without anticipating manipulation.
Yikes. And ethical risks, like bias.
A critical area. Look at Amazon's biased AI recruiting tool.
Right, the one that didn't like women's resumes.
Essentially, yes. Developed an internal AI tool to screen candidates. Discovered it systematically penalized resumes with women, like captain of women's chess club, and downgraded graduates of all women's colleges.
Why?
It taught itself this bias because it was trained on a decade of Amazon's own resume data, which reflected historical male dominance in tech.
Learned the company's existing biases.
Amplified and automated them at scale. Amazon had to scrap the project. It's a seminal example showing how AI, if not carefully designed and audited, can worsen bias, highlighting profound ethical and legal risks in high-stakes areas like hiring.
Okay, so what's the key takeaway for your organization from all these cautionary tales? We've painted a vivid picture of this treacherous landscape. How do you proactively navigate it without falling into these traps?
You need a disciplined, evidence-based approach, and that's exactly what we want to equip you with now.
The practical playbook.
Exactly. And the single most important element in your arsenal is the core principle of specificity. From vague to concrete.
Specificity.
Specificity. This is your strategic countermeasure to all forms of marketing hype. It requires a relentless demand for specifics. Your job is to actively translate a vendor's abstract, vague, qualitative claims
into concrete, specific, quantitative questions that demand verifiable answers.
Precisely. This fundamentally shifts the conversation away from the comfort zone of our AI drives efficiency.
And into the realm of measurable evidence, like what was the average spend reduction in person hours for task X across your 3 largest clients in our industry, and can we actually speak to them?
Perfect example. You have to challenge those vague terms a lot, soon, most, and insist on precise figures. 10,000. By 4 p.m. tomorrow, 94%.
Adopting this mindset is the single most important step.
Without exaggeration, yes, it helps pierce that veil of marketing language.
So to help people do just that, you mentioned a comprehensive vendor questionnaire. Essential for RFPs, vendor interviews.
Yes, let's break that down. The comprehensive vendor questionnaire. We've categorized the questions for clarity and thoroughness.
Okay, category 1.
Category 1, core technology and architecture. You need to ask, what specific type of AI model or models does your system use? Is it a transformer LLM diffusion model, graph neural network? Is it built on an open source foundation, or is it entirely proprietary from the ground up?
Knowing the foundations. What else?
Is the model's decision-making process explainable? If yes, what specific technical methods, SAP, LIME, attention visualization, do you use to provide this explainability? Can you show us a sample explainability report relevant to our proposed use case?
Crucial for trust and debugging.
And critically, what was the intended original use case this system was designed for? If our proposed use case differs, what are the potential risks and limitations of repurposing this technology for our specific needs?
Okay, good baseline questions. Category 2.
Category 2, training data, privacy, and data rights. Absolutely vital. You must inquire. What were the primary sources of the data used to train your foundational model? Can you document the data provenance, licensed, public, scraped, synthetic? Was any training data subject to copyright or use restrictions?
Digging into the data origins, then.
Will our company's inputs, queries, or any data generated through our use of your service be used to retrain or fine-tune your model for the benefit of other customers?
The IP contamination risk we discussed.
Exactly. And crucially, point to the specific clause in the contract that explicitly forbids this practice. How is our data logically and physically segregated from other clients' data?
Get it in writing.
Yeah.
And data retention.
Yes. What are your data retention policies for our input data and the outputs generated? How do you comply with regulations like GDPR and CCPA, especially regarding data subject rights like the right to be forgotten?
Okay, data covered. Category 3.
Category 3, performance, validation, and limitations. Here you need to understand. Describe in detail your processes for model testing, evaluation, validation, and verification. Can you share results from any third-party red teaming, penetration tests, or independent performance benchmarks?
Getting objective validation. What about failures?
Yes. What are the known limitations and failure modes of the system? Under what specific conditions or input types does performance degrade? What is your documented and measured hallucination rate for tasks relevant to our use case, and how is that rate calculated?
Quantifying the known weaknesses and bias.
Hugely important. How do you measure, monitor, and mitigate algorithmic bias? What specific demographic attributes and fairness metrics like demographic parity, equal opportunity do you track and report on? Can we review your latest bias audit report?
Okay, performance and limits. Category 4.
Category 4, security, integration, and scalability. Ask, what specific measures are in place to protect the system against adversarial attacks, things like prompt injection, data poisoning, model inversion, or extraction attacks?
The security posture.
What about implementation?
Provide a detailed list of the hardware, software, and internal personnel skill sets required for a successful implementation. What's the typical ramp-up time for our non-technical employees to become proficient?
Practical realities and integration.
How does your solution integrate with our existing tech stack? Provide technical documentation for your APIs and a list of pre-built connectors. What's the estimated timeline for full integration into our current operations?
Getting the full picture on deployment. Last category.
Fair, I agree. Costs, ROI, and support. The bottom line stuff. For financial clarity. Provide a comprehensive pricing model detailing all potential costs, licensing, implementation, data processing API fees, support, training. What's the projected total cost of ownership TCO over 3 years? All the hidden costs, too. And ROI claims.
Validate them. Substantiate your ROI claims by providing at least 3 detailed, referenceable client case studies from our industry. These must include specific metrics used to measure impact. We require contact info for these clients to conduct reference calls.
Proof, not promises, and ongoing support.
What levels of ongoing customer support, training, and access to technical experts are included in the standard contract? What are the service level agreements, SLAs, for support response and issue resolution?
Wow, that is a comprehensive list. That gives you the hard questions you absolutely need to ask. But the conversation, even with those incredibly specific questions, it isn't enough on its own, is it? You need hands-on proof, robust legal protections. What else should our listeners consider?
Precisely. That leads us beyond the conversation. A multi-pronged validation strategy. Asking questions is step 1, validating the answers is step 2.
Okay, so how do we validate?
First, sandbox trials and proof of concept, POC. You should never procure a significant AI system without first conducting a hands-on trial.
A test drive.
Exactly. A PUT is a small-scale, time-bound pilot project. Insist on doing this using your own anonymized data in a secure, sandboxed environment isolated from your main system.
Your data, your environment. Crucial.
And crucially, the specific, measurable success criteria for that PUT must be defined and agreed upon in writing by all stakeholders before the trial begins.
By beforehand.
To prevent moving the goalposts. It ensures an objective evaluation of the solution's actual performance against your specific needs, not just whether the vendor thinks it went well.
Okay, PTAs are essential. What else?
For mission-critical or high-risk applications, think medical diagnostics, financial underwriting, critical infrastructure, you should strongly consider commissioning an independent third-party expert to audit vendor claims.
An external audit.
Yes. Auditing their claims on security, bias, data privacy, performance, it adds cost, no doubt, but it can be an invaluable investment for mitigating catastrophic risk. It gives you an unbiased perspective on complex technical claims.
Worth it for high stakes. And finally,
contractual scrutiny is paramount. Cannot stress this enough. All those verbal promises made during the sales process, legally meaningless unless explicitly codified in the final contract.
if it's not in the contract, it doesn't exist.
Assume that. Your legal teams must conduct a meticulous review of the Master Service Agreement, MSA. Pay special attention to clauses on data rights, liability caps, IP indemnity, performance warranties, SLAs.
The fine print matters a lot.
Assume any ambiguity will be interpreted in the vendor's favor if a dispute arises. Remember that stat. Only 17% of AI contracts provide compliance warranties, and liability is often aggressively capped. This legal review is a critical line of defense against both financial and operational risk.
Okay, so let's bring this all together. What's the key takeaway for you, the listener, as you navigate this complex, often dazzling world of AI procurement?
Well, we've taken quite a deep dive, haven't we?
We have seen the seductive power of buzzwords, dissected dangerous narratives, exposed real risks, and laid out a framework for smart decision-making.
And the unequivocal conclusion really is this. The AI landscape is saturated with exaggerated claims, ambiguous language, visionary narratives that fundamentally mask significant risks, operational, financial, reputational, legal.
These aren't just harmless industry jargon.
Not at all. They are often tools of obfuscation designed to confuse that you must actively and systematically dismantle with rigorous, evidence-based due diligence. Ignoring them is basically inviting potential disaster.
So the path forward isn't retreating from AI.
No, absolutely not. That would mean missing out on incredible opportunities. The path is to approach it with a healthy strategic skepticism.
Because true competitive advantage.
In the age of AI, won't go to the earliest adopters, those who just jump first without looking. It will go to the most diligent ones, the organizations that ask the hard questions and demand real proof.
Diligence is key.
It is. And this raises an important question for you to consider, maybe a thought to carry forward from this deep dive. You've probably heard that quote, often attributed to the Harvard Business Review.
Which one?
That your job isn't likely to be replaced by AI. It's far more likely to be replaced by a person who knows how to use AI effectively.
Right, I've heard variations of that.
Well, we'd extend that principle to the organizational level. A company's market position won't necessarily be lost to a competitor that simply uses AI.
It'll be lost, too.
It will be lost to a competitor that knows how to procure, implement, and govern AI wisely.
Diligence is the bedrock of that wisdom.
Exactly. Diligence is the bedrock, the ultimate competitive advantage in this new era.
So as you, our listener, go about your week, maybe think about this. What specific step will you take this week to apply this newfound skepticism, this framework, to an AI solution you're currently considering?
What's the first hard question you'll ask based on what we've discussed?
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We truly hope this empowers you to make genuinely informed, wise, and strategic decisions in the exciting, yet definitely challenging, world of artificial intelligence.